Okay, so has she said, it depends on specifically, and guys, this is a whole new recording, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it'll start from 0 to 100. So, so this is offer credit. They're kennel partners of mine. Part of the way in which I assess credibility is by putting a dog in people's hands. Let me be very clear, they paid for the dog. Everyone's paid for the dog. Jamarcus and this old lady originally, they paid for Hot Shot's deposit, which was $3,500. I handed them $6,000 back. So it's a beautiful system when working with me. So my way of assessing your credit and how far I can take you in the dog space is putting a dog in your hand, selling it to you for a very fair price, and then going from there. Well, in this case, we've got big dreams, high hopes, and I plan on getting a lot more dogs building what I call Candyland for dogs at some point, along with some other real estate business, playpens, all kinds of stuff. 9 out of 10 people don't have $10 million to do that. And on average, it's going to cost me about 10 mil. And that's not an exaggeration to build the things that I want to build long term. So start learning about credit. See, my credit is right there. We've got basically 600 across the board. She checked, and objectively in my report, there's not a lot going on. And she'll show you that. So go ahead and walk them through the report and the things that are good, bad, ugly, and how I can better it.
Yeah, so honestly, I'm gonna do it just like I would do it with any client.
Yep.
Just, you know what I mean? Just so everybody kind of knows what to expect, even though I've gotten a sneak peek at yours. So yeah, as soon as we pop in here, the first thing it's gonna show is your 3 different scores. That's kind of the first misconception about credit. A lot of people think that they have 1 credit score. You actually have 3. There's 3 different bureaus you see here: TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. And so you've got 3 different scores, just based on what's actually reporting to each one of those. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna pop in here, look at his report here, kind of take a look at what's going on. So
It's like looking under the hood. People's like, oh.
now I don't want to share too much of your personal information. Your birthday doesn't matter, but I don't want all the addresses and everything you've ever been associated with to be shown.
I'm a nomad. So those addresses is like a fake. A girl giving you a fake number. You like, oh, go ahead back there if you want to. You'll never see me there. Well, matter of fact, they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. He was here for 2 days.
So long story short, when we're talking about Trevor, most likely what we're going to see is a lack of addresses, right? So we only see a couple of them on here because Trevor never puts his name on anything.
Nothing. They don't exist.
So yeah, long story short, these addresses are probably God knows how old. So
What does that say? Hebron? Dang, it's okay.
yep. So anytime that you put your name on a utility bill, on a credit card, on a car loan, on anything that's attached to your credit whatsoever, that address is going to start to pop up here on your credit report. And so that's always the first thing that we look at is like, hey, all right, you've moved around a bunch of times. You know what I mean? Do we need to start cleaning up this personal information? The first thing we're going to do is update your current address. And I know that it's not going to be your address for the next year, 2 years, whatever it is, but we always want to make sure that you've got a current address on here with the credit bureaus. Makes it a little bit easier down the road. We'll talk about why, but long story short, it makes it a lot easier to get negative stuff off the report once we can get rid of all of this extra junk that doesn't belong here. So then you go down. I like Identity IQ because it gives you a summary of what's going on with your report. So let you know how many accounts you have total, how many's open, how many's closed, and then what your total debt is as far as everything goes, right? And then it tells you what your monthly payments are as well, as far as minimum payments with credit cards, if you had an auto loan, anything along those lines. The areas that we focus on right here: delinquent, derogatory, and collection accounts. So you can see you have none here, only 2 here, between one derogatory, 1 collection, 1 derogatory, 1 collection on this bureau. So you don't have a lot of negative stuff going on. What exactly I figured was going to be wrong with your credit is exactly what it is. Never had a chance to peek at it. So basically what we're going to do is just go down through here. You can see as we're going to start going through this stuff, that Trevor makes his payments on time. Trevor doesn't have late payments, right? We're looking at, this is a Capital One credit card. So the things that we want to look at when we talk about utilization, this is a concept that a lot of people don't understand. And so to make it as simple as possible, we're taking a look at one here, right? Credit limit is $600, right? Right now we're looking at a balance of $48. This is one Trevor should probably just pay off, but
I can pay it off right now,
but when we're talking about a card like this one has good utilization Because he's under 30%, meaning 30% of 600 would be what? $140, maybe somewhere around there. And so he's under that 30% threshold. So this card is in good shape and he has perfect payment history. This green okay means that he has perfect payment history. Now the next card, this one right here, right? This is a late payment, 30 days late. That basically means that typically you have a 10-day grace period, right? So if your payment is due on the 1st, you have until the 10th until they're going to charge you a late fee, right? And then you have until the 2nd of the following month. So basically an entire 30 days. On day 31, they're going to hit your credit with that late payment. And that's going to drop your score, depending on what you've already got going on, anywhere between 50 to 100 points off of that one little late payment. So that's something that we look at. But the good news is this account has been in good shape for such a long time. That's not actually hurting him that much, right? Now, what's wrong with this account right here? We look at credit limit, right? 6750. And then we look at our balance of 6482. So the goal with an account like this is to get that balance basically, if at all possible, under about 1,500 to $2,000, no more than that, right? Because again, we're talking about utilization is at about like 90% right now, 95%. And so that right now is having a huge impact on your score because the threshold is 30%. That's the goal, 30%. If you can get it down below like 10 to 5 to 0, obviously that's best. But once you get to that 30 range, your score is really going to start to jump back up again. And so we're in a similar situation with the Amazon card right here. Credit limit, I think that says 1,800. I'm blind as a bat.
Yeah.
And then balance 1,726. So these two things alone, literally these two accounts, you pay both of these down to 30%, you're in the 700 club already. It's that quick. It is absolutely that quick. This, I'm actually not for sure what this account is. Electronic billing and C, I don't know. And it's only reporting to one bureau. I have no clue what this is.
Electronic billing and C.
So
It could be a lens. It could be, I had a lens I bought from B&H Photo.
Okay.
And that could be what maybe their processing thing.
Let's see. So you owe $958 on it. You originally owed $1,600.
Yeah,
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, lens
Okay.
will probably be the 70.
Okay.
This lens right here.
Sounds about right. Okay, so this one, I mean, that's in good shape. You've got good payments on it, so no big deal there. That's something eventually. This one actually isn't, because it's an installment account. So you'll see the difference. I want to show you the difference right here. The account type is installment. Up here, when you look at account type, this says revolving. So the difference between the two, a revolving account is like a credit card. They give you a $5,000 limit, and based on how much of that card that you're using, that's going to be what your minimum payment is, right? So if you're only using $500 out of that card, your minimum payment might be $25. Whereas if you're using $5,000 out of the $5,000, your minimum payment might be $250, whatever the case is. So that's a revolving account where your monthly payment can change. Something like this, an installment account, is something that's set payment. So it'll even show you right here, typically, okay, monthly payment. Here we go, $137. That $137 never changes. So that's the difference between your installment and your revolving, because a revolving can change. Installment stays the same, and an installment account will not affect your utilization. That's the difference.
But which credit bureau does it work or affect if you start paying late?
So on this one, because it's only reflecting on Experian, it's only going to affect your Experian.
I need to look, people, I'm looking at this for the first time, like y'all are like this. Oh, this is interesting.
Yep. So
it's like looking at a medical record. You be like, hey, so what's wrong with me? They got to come in with all them damn papers. You said, man, just tell me what's wrong.
So
take.
And that's exactly why you have 3 different scores, because you see these couple of things, they're reporting to all 3 bureaus. This is only reporting to the one.
Yeah.
These things will actually help you in the long run. Once you get those payments down, once you get that utilization down, like I said, your score is going to bump up super fast. So everything for the most part is reporting to all the same bureaus. This one, again, it's a little bit different. We're talking about, let's see, Armed Forces Bank. That was a credit line. Okay, but it's paid off, 0 balance. You had perfect payment history on it. So that's something that was helping your score at one point. Now, what we need to take a look at.
That's a long time ago.
This is, well, so that's the thing, right? We talked about a long time ago that was being paid in 2016.
Yeah, I mean, that was a long time
and 15.
Armed Forces Bank, there was a crook at that bank. He
So
got
yeah,
fired because he was stealing my money.
that'll fall off here fairly soon. We're coming up on that 7-year mark. Now this is one area where I personally can help.
Yep.
This is when we start actually talking about credit repair. There's a lot of people that come to me and they ask me, hey, how can I fix my credit? How can you help me? I actually can't help. For the most part, if this specific account right here wasn't here, this is a charged off account that you had with Sprint at one point in time. This was a phone bill that never got paid.
Never. I told them I wasn't giving them money.
So if you didn't have this on here, you actually wouldn't be able to be one of my clients, because the only thing that you need to do outside of that one account is just pay down those balances.
That makes sense.
Super simple, but this is something I'll start working to get this off of your report. We'll get you going.
There you go, people. Look, you're gonna see in real time, and to a degree, Sprint quit harassing me. Hey, look, you know they bought T-Mobile, so I logged in on the computer to pay the T-Mobile bill, and something said something real ugly. It looked ugly. I said, whoa, where did 1,500 come from? Brittany showed up out of the darkness like Batman. And so I logged back into the phone. I said, oh, there we go. That's the bill I'm supposed to be paying. So I ain't paying no bill on the computer. Only through that T-Mobile app. Something's going on with the computer. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I ain't fucking with it. And I ain't giving them that money. Okay, so I got something that they actually can repair, to be clear. And that's good to know too, people. You go to people, everybody want to help. Most of the time they just want to help themselves. So it could be something where they like hit you over the head with some, oh yeah, let me look at your stuff. Oh man, I'll do it for such and such. And it'd be nothing wrong. If my only problem outside of this particular one is simply just paying the boys. You know, we'll pay them boys and get this thing working. And like she said, it'll jump, you know, probably 60, 50, 60 points in this case. And I've already been on the 740 side. Literally, that's how I got on some more problems. We talked about, and we might do a series, just to be clear, on choices. And again, I'm happy to use myself. At the time, I just spent almost $10,000 on Canon equipment, and learned very quickly that Canon wasn't the future. And this was the mirrorless. So you guys don't know, I do videography and photography, and I did everything. Shot the ABKC Nationals with the first EOS R that Canon really like dropped. That was mirrorless. And then again, Sony was like, yo, we were literally about to go on a journey, 10-day journey, 200 miles, California, and I needed cameras that didn't turn off. Well, this A7C, guess what? The Canon, this A7C is $1,500 that we're using. And then the A1 is a $7,000 camera, just the body alone. And guess what? I've got a $3,000 lens on the Canon R5, which is a $4,500 body. And then you turn around, got an EOS R, which is $1,500, but it's got a 30-minute shooting time. I'm not telling you this to justify how you spend money or create more problems for yourself. But to be even more clear, I bought a computer, brand new iMac. And he's actually using the and he's using it because Apple's a funny acting company at times. I love them, but if you don't buy enough RPMs, the computer won't run fast enough to run software. And one of the things that I run is Adobe Premiere Pro. So I had to buy a whole nother computer just so I could run all of my software, because the other one just wasn't working. That's the truth. It's just, it has its limitations, but you can watch anything on it. But if you want to run the big programs, just didn't work. And we shoot too much, we edit too much, we live and die on YouTube. Be very clear. If it was just me, I could pay all this stuff off, and I take care of the people around me in 1 month off of YouTube alone. But I like to plan and put money where it needs to be. We never know when we're going to need money. So I'm like, I'll pay this stuff at some point.
Well, and so I think that's the beauty of it too, right? Is it's, a lot of times, that was something that was an investment, right? And you had the ability to use your credit at that point to be able to reinvest in your business. And that's when it makes sense to do that. Now, where it would have been something that would have been beneficial for you is for us to credit card stack you first, right?
Yeah.
So you're at 740 and now I think you've got like 15 grand total in credit card limit.
Yeah.
What we would have done was we would have gone and tried to get you a few high limit cards. We would have gone out and got you maybe 3 or 4 $10,000 cards. And then you still only would have been using the, I don't know what it is. I think like 9 grand.
Yeah, and
out of that money, and that would have helped your utilization, kept your score nice and high, and still allowed you to put that on your credit set where you can pay it off over time and not just come out of pocket all that money at once.
And that right there makes a lot of sense, because at the end of the day, you saw for the most part everything's in the green. Whether I'm paying the bare minimum or a little bit more, I make sure that them bills get paid and I just have it set up automatically, so it's all taken care of. But objectively, now we know what needs to be repaired. Is there anything else you think they should know about when looking at their report potentially? I think, which one's the most important when you're trying to buy a house?
It's all gonna depend on your lender. So every lender pulls from a different bureau.
Okay,
So that's one thing that you can do, and a lot of them pull from all three.
Okay.
So when you're talking about buying a house, most of them are gonna pull from at least two, if not all three of them. But a lot of times if you're going to buy a car, you know what I mean? A couple of your big ones like Ally Bank, places like that, they're gonna pull just your TransUnion. So it's all about understanding how to look for those lenders and knowing what your strongest bureaus are. Cause that's when you can start to tackle it. So you go to a mortgage broker, right? And you say, hey, TransUnion and Equifax are my two strongest bureaus. I've got this medical bill on Experian. You know what I mean? And so your mortgage lender is literally gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna run you through this bank, and this bank, because I know that they're not gonna look at that Experian.
Guys, let me be very clear. This stuff gives me anxiety. It sounds very stressful. So part of my interest, even in working with them, is also finding ways to simplify it, because it's almost like it's too much happening at once and nothing happening at the same time. And then when it's all said and done, you're still confused. You're like, so who do I owe money to? Is this gonna help my score? Can I get some more money?
Yeah.
That's the simple part. You change my oil or not? I don't know about the pan and
Right.
or the alternator and whatnot. And okay, so then you gotta, is there a way like an Angie's List to find the right mortgage or the right people to?
Yeah, so I mean, I think whenever you talk about that, a lot of times if you got a realtor that you trust, they're gonna have a lender that they trust. For the most part, you know what I mean? And so it's all one big industry, it's all tied in together. Your realtor is gonna have a mortgage broker, they're gonna have a title company, they're gonna have an appraiser, they're gonna have an inspector, they're gonna have all of that. But also, I mean,
But and that's a good job, but you know, what I do like about this for me, I'm translating it back to dogs because it's hard to find a good breeder. Find somebody who feeds a dog, find somebody you can learn from. So it sounds like finding that person who can walk you through that streamline of stuff. Because I know even people who buy properties only go buy a house from the same realtor. Most realtors like, oh, they upgraded the house, they'll go back to the same person if it went up. So in this case, it sounds like that whole process that maybe this one lender needs to be rock solid.
I mean, that's really it, right? It's people like to, and I mean, not even that we're talking about real estate, but just in general, right? If you've got a car broker, if you've got a real estate agent, whatever the case is, finding somebody that you can trust that can guide you in the right direction for all those other intangibles, you know what I mean? All those other things, because no one's going to have all that knowledge. You're not going to know every lender. You're not going to know the best title agent. You're not, right? So that's when, if you can make that one connection with one person that you trust who has experience in that industry, you know what I mean? Whether it's credit, real estate, vehicles, whatever the case is, that's where you want to really be able to lean on that person and trust that they're an expert.
Okay. So guys, again, I'll be learning about credit, and I learned about it a while ago. And I learned about it so good that my stuff grew in a few months, and therein lies a problem because my life moves either very slow or very fast. But I only can justify purchases that make money. So if it wasn't an opportunity to make money or change things, trust me, I would have never. You can't get me to spend no money. I don't, like I said, you see the thing, I don't even exist. I'm like, I don't want nobody know where I'm at, what's going on. And that in itself becomes a hindrance to growth. Because I repeat, I know he's got big dreams, she's got big dreams. And unfortunately, I only know two people who have access to $500,000 cash in it, where they can walk in their house, go get it, buy whatever they want if they needed to. And even still, that in today's time on something that they would want to see money back on is a down payment. So you're still not going to like go for real life, buy something at that level and get that money back right away. Unless you buy it and it sells in the next 30 days for double what you paid for it. So reality is most of them, including Magic Johnson, if you ever go listen to that, you think about how much money he made in the league, and then you turn around and went and leveraged and borrowed what, $10 million or something to build in Starbucks. So it's all about getting other people's money in a sense, or leveraging your own, we'll just say credit to have access to more things that can make more money. And I'm telling you right now, I'm happy to put business plans and stuff out there. I bought a dog 4 years ago. And as I was talking to Stan and Jamarcus today, I had to believe in everything that I saw could change to get to this point. And nobody really saw it. And then you turn around, fast forward 4 years, we're in a position to really impact and influence people to change more things. Now there are people messaging me asking, do they need to get Jack Russell Terriers? Because if that's a dog you going with, it's probably about to get popular. I'm like, don't do it. He's gonna live with me and die with me. It's not a popularity contest. I just enjoy the dog. He's gonna be with me. He's never gonna be studied out. He's just gonna hang out and we're gonna have a good time and do some hunting. So when you look at where we're at, studying disease, creating supplements, building, 2 or 3 other businesses, building facilities, and so many other things, literally, you go, okay, I either got to come up with $10 million or find a way to leverage getting access to $10 million. Because even the things I want to do next, the barrier to entry into building on average great hospitals, and I was there to be clear, Natera was a company I worked for as the head of wellness. He had a notebook this big and a binder, and he was borrowing $500 million for a bank back home called Altera in Kansas, off of Null, I believe. $500 million is what he was borrowing to build that many more hospitals. Now, how can he do that? Well, his business has to do this and sell. It gets tricky to say the least, but even with his profit margins and only the real estate, he still wasn't gonna give nobody $500 million because he got it. That makes no sense.
Nope. That's somebody else's money.
And he had plenty of money, to be clear. But again, not knowing how money works is unfortunately at times our downfall. When I'm saying our downfall, I mean people look like me. And then learning how to use it to better the world and better people around you. It makes everything so much easier. So anything that you want to leave them with, or guys, in mind you, we'll have some questions.
Oh yeah, I will say that there's one last question.
Yeah, we'll definitely gonna give you guys a chance to ask some questions. So if you saw I'm at between 6:22 and 6:04. All of those things that she said could change simply by paying them boys. And then F Sprint always was fucking with me. They always on a mission. I would come like, yo, hey, why am I bill $900? I don't talk to that many people. Can't nobody even call me. And they're like this. Well, we extended this much so you can, and you go, I thought I had unlimited everything. How is this happening? Every time you get on Sprint, it's $1,000. Well, this is a problem. And it kicked us out.
It did kick us out.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That means you're gonna stay up. That's a good dog. This is perfect. So anywho, people, stay tuned. If you got questions, now would be the time to go ahead and ask a few questions.
Daniel Peterson, I know you had a question. Go ahead and unmute your mic
Oh yeah.
and ask away.
Hey, how you guys doing? Hello.
Yeah, sure. Paid off the charges. Hey,
I heard him say something. I hear
Yeah.
him somewhere.
is this mic cutting off there?
Shouldn't.
Hello?
It is.
I think I hear him on your phone.
Yeah, let's check the chat. The chat's good right here. Look. Are we allowed to ask questions? Absolutely. Q&A. Can you sign up at any?
I guess type the question out in the comments.
Yeah, go ahead and type it out, Wes.
He's not trying to do
Turn
Oh, wait. That's a text for me.
Oh, that's a text from you.
That's a text for me.
If you're better the charges for, there you go.
Okay, if trade.
Now we can't hear you, my friend. But
For a less
Right,
amount
but-
and settle the debt. This is a great question. Would it affect your, okay, so the question is, if Trev paid off the charge offs for a less amount and settled the debt, would it affect your credit negatively after it is settled? Is it better to just get the debt deleted altogether? That's a phenomenal question, and you're spot on. So what a lot of people don't understand is that paying off a charged off account or paying off a collection isn't actually going to improve your score by much of anything, and it's not going to remove the derogatory item from your account. You're going to go from a collection with a balance or a charge off with a balance to a collection or a charge off with no balance, and it's not really going to improve your score. So there's 2 different ways to go about that. Obviously that's what our company does. We work to, combat, make sure that we can get inaccurate, negative items, things along those lines removed from your report. If for any reason we can't get that item removed altogether, what we do is actually negotiate what's called a pay for delete on your behalf. So a lot of people believe that if they pay off their collection or pay off their charge off, that it's going to remove it from their credit report, and it doesn't. So you actually have to get in writing from the company a pay for delete, and that's when you can settle. That's the only time that you acknowledge that that debt belongs to you. At that point is whenever you're going for that pay for delete. So phenomenal question. Long story short, paying off a collection, paying off a charge off will not help your credit. That was a great question.
There you go.
Let me see, Daniel. We couldn't hear you, Daniel. Do you mind popping your question into the chat for us?
So many things going on this computer, man. I'm sorry.
Okay, Maya Rodriguez. Hi, best advice for somebody who doesn't have any credit yet and how to start. Another great question. Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple of different ways. The easiest way to actually get a credit score for yourself and get into a good position is through utilizing an authorized user trade line. Basically what that means, your mom, your dad, your best friend, your sister, your boyfriend, whoever, if somebody has good credit and they have low utilization and they pay their cards on time every month, that's going to be a good thing. What they can do, they can add you as an authorized user on their card. Basically what that will do is it will translate their positive payment history and their positive utilization on that card over to your credit. Now, they'll get a card for you in the mail. That's entirely up to them whether they allow you to use that card or not. They absolutely don't have to, but the gist of it is that authorized user can either populate a score for you or really jump your score up really high. Another really great way to get started on your own credit journey, if you don't know anybody that can give you an authorized user and you don't want to pay for one, then what you can do at that point is get a secured card. And so basically what that is, great places to go do that: Capital One, Open Sky, Discover. Any other ones that you particularly like?
You could do self.
Yeah, so there's several different places, and feel free to message us. But what you do is you get a secured card. And so what you can do is, hey, here's $200. They're going to take that $200, basically stick it into a bank account and allow you to borrow against it every month. And so now you've got a credit card with a $200 limit. You use it every month, use it for gas, use it for groceries, whatever, pay it right back off. And now you're going to be able to start building payment history for yourself, building that good utilization, all of those factors that make up that credit report. That card can start doing that for you. And after about 4 to 6 months of paying on that secured card, you should be able to start going and applying for, 1 or 2 unsecured cards and start building from there. Yeah, so that's a third one. I don't want to overwhelm you guys with too much, but authorized user, secured card, and then rental history is another good one, because a lot of us pay for rent. And a lot of us don't know that you can actually report your rent to your credit report to help build your score as well.
You gotta call somebody for that, or how does that work?
So there's like a million different places you can do it, but Rent Reporters and Rock the Score are both really easy ones, because a lot of times they'll allow you to just hook right up to your bank account and they'll just auto report it for you every month. They see that $1,500, they see that $1,200 come out on the 1st of every month. They're going to report positive payment history to your file for you as well. There's a lot. I know that's one of the ones we're going to do for you.
That means
Another thing is that building a secure card, I believe Credit Karma and Credit Sesame are not starting that product as well. But Credit Sesame is also allowing you to report your rent, so you can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Absolutely. And we'll post, whenever we post this up on YouTube, we'll post some links for some resources for you guys as well. Let's see, what is credit card stacking? Credit card stacking is a method for funding for the most part, but a lot of times it's good to help increase your credit limit as well. It's just kind of an advanced technique, basically, to be able to get people access to capital. We typically do it on the business side, but I like to do it on the personal side as well sometimes, just so that if you have a large purchase you need to go make, if you need to go spend 10 grand and you only have 10 grand worth of credit card limit, we'll go credit card stack you real fast, get you up closer to about 40 to 50,000 in credit card limit, so that when you go spend that 10 grand, it only is using 20% of your utilization instead of 100%. So it's a technique that we use. That's not something I don't want to dig super deep into it, but long story short, we go get you a bunch of credit cards all at once.
I think Rome invited me. I'm not sure.
You message me directly, but you can read it there.
Okay,
I'm not sure if
I'm only
it was.
18. So far, I have a credit score of 620, just based off of a car note and a phone bill, things like that. I just recently got approved for my first apartment.
Yeah.
Congrats. But some credit bureau companies don't
Yeah,
have
the
my
random
score.
ones, bro.
It says I
like,
don't have history.
DMZ.
I try getting credit cards, but they always
I was
deny
playing
me.
cards with some
Would you
Mexicans.
recommend
They
I
were
keep
cool.
down a good credit path? That was a great question. Okay.
cold as hell.
So
They
this
just
is kind of
can't.
what we talked
I
about
know
with
they
Trevor's
be
score
playing as a
earlier,
team. I
right?
fuck
How
with
he
that.
had a
Like
few
you,
things that were only
if you get
reporting
like
to
2,
one
3
or
of
two
them, like you
bureaus.
good. But it's just like one
Most
they be
likely,
like,
your car
yeah.
loan probably is
Mhm.
only reporting to maybe 2 out of the 3 bureaus, and so it's very possible that you don't have a score on that third
Maldito.
bureau, and that's why you can't find it. Also,
Look at
there's
me,
only,
funny.
I think
But
Credit
they be
One and
tripped out
Capital
when you
One
start
might be the
speaking with
only
them.
places that'll approve you for a credit card at 620. Most everywhere else, you gotta be at least 680, some places 720, like if you're start talking about the Amexes and things like that. And so a really good route for you to go, Daniel, would just to be start building with, again, that secured card. Get your rental history reporting on there, see if you can find somebody who can, add you on as an authorized user. Just some small things to start getting additional, what's called trade lines. A trade line basically are the accounts that are on your credit file. So you saw Trevor's, he had 3 credit cards on there. You know what I mean? Each one of those credit cards counts as a trade line. So the more trade lines that you have, the higher chance, of course, that you have of your score reporting on all 3 bureaus. But it sounds like you just need to add some additional things on there to be able to populate that score. I would definitely start with a secured card, see if you could get on an authorized user, and then rental history is another great option if you've got your own place. Okay. I think we're good. Did you have one other question in your DMs? I thought I saw one more.
She said, if we book an appointment with your company, will we get you automatically, or do we have to request you?
Yeah, you can request me. That's no big deal. Absolutely. Yeah, so yeah, feel free to schedule that consultation. Anybody that books from tonight, I'll absolutely be the one that's reaching out to you guys 100%.
There you go. You guys, you want to share this with people too. I mean, and we're going to post this on YouTube. All right, Peter, I don't know a lot, but I know a lot. What I do know is that there's an opportunity as much as possible to help as many people as possible. So you guys know.
There was one more.
Last question, you got
Since there are no more questions, can I put a credit card in my dog's name and use it? He said, just kidding. What are the top 3 options out there to build credit and get credit cards without necessarily getting inquiries? So a lot of those, again, those items that we just talked about earlier, most of the time a secured card is not going to add an inquiry to your report because there's no risk. You're putting the money up, right, for you to be able to then borrow against it. So they're not going to pull your credit. Rent reporting, they're not going to pull your credit. An authorized user, they're definitely not going to pull your credit. You're being added onto somebody else's. So those 3 options, by far, that's going to be the best way to get yourself started without adding any hard inquiries to your file. Great question.
It's a good teacher too, because when I did the authorized, I tried to do the authorized user route and found out all the homies around me had bad credit. So I'm thinking, I'm like, yo, my man got a house. He like, man, he good. He like, yo, son, I'm max. He was like, I gotta pay 50 to some to them boys. I said, wow, what have you been doing? Hit another homegirl up. I'm like, she didn't been in her house for like 5 years. She make a good amount of money. She's like, she's like, I didn't even know I didn't pay that stuff in college. That $20,000. It's like, oh, Trev, I live at the edge. I go, wow. So I ended up going and getting a secured card, put 500 on it. And for one, it's your own money, so it'll make you a little bit more conscious about them choices too. So you turn around and again, you do the 30% thing over a little bit of time. Next thing you know, that credit score it jumped drastically, if I'm being honest. And I think it's because I didn't have much on my stuff in general, so it jumped up 680. And I was like 710. 710. Apple gave me, I got approved for Apple card, and Apple gave me 5,000. Again, I'm using Apple. And then I was like, yo, what's wrong with this computer? Now, Apple's like, oh, we'll give you the money for the computer. And there lies the problem. Because I don't got just a regular, I got a 27-inch super powered computer that you couldn't even walk out the store with because they had to put new stuff in it to make sure that it run. So now I'm 2,000 and some change in. And then, like I said, turn around, use some of my money, literally like 20 bands for all the computer stuff. And still had to put a few lenses on credit because the credit is still at what, 740, got it to 741. And then as the song say, it all came crashing down. Because then I started investing in products, and every product I buy is, put it like this, if I didn't pay for the products that we sell and put out there, all that stuff been fixed a long time ago. I mean, that alone is over $10,000, and that's cash. I mean, that's money. There's no credit when it comes to that. That was straight boom. So you like make this choice, right? Do we pay the credit or do we keep moving forward because it ain't killing me? So to say, needless to say, I like the secured card best in my opinion. And you got to be wise, man. And you ain't gonna I ain't about to get him $1,000. I'm trying to get $1,000. So you really do think it through.
Absolutely.
Was there any more questions? Not people listen. Oh, go ahead.
We had one more question from Miss Edith. And she said, my auto loan is paid off. I only have what does that say? It's only leaving my mortgage as my longest account on my history. How can I add more lines safely? So that's a good question because it is a balance. Once you get to that point where you don't necessarily need secured cards, things along those lines, but you have some really heavy hitters on your file, like an auto loan, like a mortgage, things along those lines. You don't necessarily want to start adding frivolous accounts, right? We don't want to do credit builders. We don't want to do $200 to $300 secured cards. So Edith, somebody in your situation, there's a golden rule, right? Chase set the bar for this. I don't even know how long ago, it's been a long time, but the golden rule is 5 inquiries in 24 months. So 5 inquiries in 2 years. You don't want to have more than that. So, I mean, you can add a couple of cards. I believe last time we spoke, you ended up getting approved for a card with your bank, which is awesome because I know that's who your car loan was with. You can add a couple more credit cards. Now, not to use them, right? They're great to have there, in the event of emergency, if something happens, if you do end up wanting to invest in something, right? So you can go get a couple more credit cards, but mind your inquiries. Make sure that you don't get above like that 4 to 5 inquiry mark, just in case something does pop up. You need to go get a loan for something. You know what I mean? Banks start to look at too many inquiries as credit seeking, basically meaning you look desperate, right? Now we know that that's not the case, but you just kind of want to keep that golden rule. No more than 5 inquiries in 2 years, especially not within the last 6 months. They really kind of look at that last 6 months of like, okay, why are they applying so many places, right? But Edith, I believe after the conversation that we had last time, there's not too much going on with your file. So adding a couple of cards is going to keep you in good shape, get your credit limit a little bit higher, and then allows you to kind of have that safety net just in case something were to happen and you needed to use it. Great question.
Another thing, I guess it just depends on like where she's at. It just depends on where she's at, but I believe she also could go for pledge loans. But the thing about the pledge loans is that you don't want to use those. You want to get the money and just pay it back on your payments. That could also help show off that you paid off the installment loan, I believe it was called.
So a pledge loan is basically, it's like a secured card, just in loan form. You give them $5,000, you basically pay back the $5,000, right? And they're going to give you your money back. So that's a really advanced technique. And
giving somebody all your money and paying them back your money.
He's probably does with the bank though.
Yeah, so it gives you some credibility. It is a super advanced technique and it's used a little bit more whenever people start going and looking for business funding and stuff. But if there's questions on that side as far as that goes, definitely reach out to us, let us know.
Listen, people, I know dogs, man. I know dogs very well, but what I don't know is this stuff. It's not giving me a headache. At any rate, we're going to put this up on YouTube. If you're watching this, hopefully you learned something. Most importantly, hopefully it brought about some questions. You want to share this with people that you think it could help. And, we maybe didn't give you all the stuff that you needed to know in this. What I do want to do is paint a very vivid picture. I gave them a wish list, a Christmas wish list per se, and I hate Christmas with a passion. But I, from getting a couple cars, definitely a big purchase in one of the cars. All for fun. This is all for fun, pure chaos. Definitely buying some properties and getting some land, anywhere from 40 to 100 acres, and then potentially building our first playpen, even showing me how to leverage credit to pay for the next 10 products. 10 products for me off top, $20,000. Easy $20,000. And guess what? 9 out of 10 times you need to spend that much money, if not more, in marketing. I've spent no money in marketing, and we have how many people subscribe to Puppy Blogs?
Almost 100.
No marketing. You've not seen a puppy promotion. I barely even post Puppy Blogs, and 100 people. They're indicator that it's kind of paying for itself to a degree. But even when that, let's say, maxes out, I'll take all the profits from that, start 2 more products, because now we're talking about a $2,000 investment making $6,000. The $6,000 just gives me opportunity to build 2 more products after taxes. and I'm in it. So I gotta come up with almost $1.5 million over the next year or so. Between the cars, the products, and facilities, and the dog stuff that I've told them I want to do, you're easily looking at 1.5 mil, easy, if not more. I mean, one of the cars alone is $500,000. So stay tuned, people. We're going to show you the process, everything getting better. They're going to teach me as much as they can. And again, this is all for the sake of the dogs. I have no interest in anything outside of dogs. And better my own quality of life and working with them. So thank you guys all for tuning in. I do hope this helped. We're not just one note here. It's just all inclusive. Like imagine being able to even use some of this stuff to better your dog's quality of life. And that's my intent personally. So anything else you guys want to leave them with before we get out of here?
Just reach out, ask questions if you have them. Don't be afraid. I'm not going to charge you $100 to talk to me. That's not how we work over here. You know what I mean? If you've got legitimate questions about credit and how to build and how to do better, feel free to reach out. It's something Trevor doesn't give two, you know what's about, you know what I mean? But it's something I'm super passionate about, and we're here to help.
And I'm being funny. I care about it enough because I know how to go find money. But I'm like, this makes more sense. Because I also don't want to deal
with less people.
Yeah, you're like, that makes more sense. I don't want to talk to nobody. I can go find. I've got friends that got a lot of money, but then I got to talk to them all the time. And they be like this, hey man, how's that coming along? Not today, Satan.
Daniel's the one that's what, 18? How old is Daniel? Who was 18 on there?
Yeah.
Hey man, it's all about leverage. The sooner you understand this concept, you're gonna put yourself light years ahead of the race. So, like she said, she's gonna explain it to you in the best, way possible for you. It's gonna be like an ABC 1, 2, 3 kind of situation. And everybody in here, the goal and the word is leverage. And this is just a small phase to it. But once you guys understand this concept, you graduate to the next level. And we're here to help you through each stage of that. So I appreciate everybody checking in, and I appreciate the Bully putting us on this platform to do this.
There you go, people. And look, I will ask you this: if you do have time, I would encourage you. What's your guys' email?
info@offercreditrepair.com.
So info@offercredit, or I would say
Offer Credit Solution.
Offer Credit Solutions on Instagram. Send them 5 to 10 questions. I'm not going to tell you they're going to answer them, but what I love about the questions, and that's what I give them for content, is if you can answer these questions in content, it could draw more questions, and questions will create change objectively over time. So again, we might not answer everything, but if you have a moment or you get a second, send them 5 questions that you would want to know as a consumer, and let them know, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What about this? And all that stuff gives them an opportunity to reach more people via, what they do. And again, credit does matter. People, listen, stay tuned. Take care of your dogs. Take care of your credit, and we'll talk soon. Well, not to me, but you know what I mean.